Hey Facebook family, I am going live today for the first time in a long time. And all of this started with a conversation that I had this morning with a potential client. She's not a client yet, but she is a realtor in Lexington, Kentucky, and she was talking to me about her marketing and doing social media and things like that. And she was talking about how nervous she was to kind of get in front of the camera and just go live or talk to her clients in that way. And a lot of people are like that. They're really nervous about it. But I basically told her it's just a good opportunity to connect with people in a real way, especially when you're live, because it's not edited. She was talking about how she loves to cook, and I'm like, that'd be amazing. You're just talking to people. They might connect with you because they like to cook also. And, burn the garlic by accident, and then they're laughing and they're like, oh my god, that was so funny, and they're thinking about you and they watched your video 20 times. So I told her, I was like, not for any business related facts, but I have gone live on Facebook before just to talk to people, share recipes, do my thing. So it just inspired me to get on here again today because of that conversation. But I'm also doing a homemade butternut squash soup, which is a new recipe, sorry I'm not trying to point the knife at you, that I discovered this year during a 30-day detox that I'm actually still in the middle of. I started on January the 2nd, and it goes until the 31st for me. The 1st of February will be done. The first 10 days of the detox is very limited on what you can eat. You basically can have any vegetable you want besides white potatoes and corn, and you can have beans and lentils, and that's basically it. So it's a vegetarian, no nuts, no seeds type recipe. And so I had to kind of think outside of the box because there's just so much quinoa that I wanted to have, and having a soup was just so comforting. So I looked up a recipe for butternut squash soup. I have never done this before. I've never... What are you barking about? I've never dealt with butternut squash. I've never peeled one. I've never chopped one. I've never done it. So I made it one night, and it was a hit. It was just completely amazing. Posted some pictures. Made it again because we just went through it so fast. And then even had a request from one of my friends who celebrated a birthday during the detox. She was also doing it, that she wanted me to fix her that for her birthday. So I've made this soup several times because it's delicious, regardless whether you're on a detox or not. It's nutritious. It's pretty healthy. The basic recipe, the ingredients that I'm using are 2 butternut squash. I chop up 1 sweet potato, 1 full onion, some carrots, garlic. So what I'm going to roast is I'm going to roast the butternut squash and 1 sweet potato for about 40 minutes until they get really soft in the oven. And I'm going to just marinate them in some olive oil and some onion powder and garlic powder just to give it a little bit of flavor in there. And then I'll saute if you have a Dutch oven, you can do that, but if you just have a pot, whatever you'd be making a big pot of chili in, you can use that to saute your onions and your carrots and get those nice and soft as well. Then you add in your garlic, of course, and then your veggie broth. The original recipe I had called for chicken broth, but since I was doing this vegetarian thing for the first 10 days of my detox, I just used veggie, and by the time you mix everything together, what's the difference? So I went ahead and mixed up this recipe because you guys, if you know me, I'm not going to follow nobody else's rules. I like to kind of tweak things and put my own little touch in there on that. So I reduced the amount of veggie broth by a cup, or however much, by 13 ounces, and then I use a full cup or a full can of full fat coconut milk with the really good creamy stuff in there, so it gives my soup this really creamy texture as well. So it is the bomb. I do not have an immersion blender. When I made the recipe at my friend's house for her birthday, she had an immersion blender, so I had my first experience using an immersion blender. But basically what you do after you get your veggies out of the oven from being roasted, you put those in the pot that you've already sauteed everything else. You've added your broth, you've added your coconut milk, add in the roasted vegetables, and then I just take it out a batch at a time and puree it in the blender. So I put it through the blender, it just makes it creamy and smooth. The recipe calls for thyme, which I really, again, like something new I had not really used, the seasoning thyme. So the first few recipes I didn't have it available to use, so I just used, salt, pepper, onion, and garlic flavors, and it was delicious. But I purchased thyme for the third time that I made the recipe, and it really changed the flavor profile, and it was delicious, and I will use thyme again when it's available. I also like to spice things up. I don't really spice up the whole soup because I like to share with people who might have a different level of heat tolerance than I do. I did share this recipe with my 2-year-old niece, and I will be sharing it with my 1-year-old nephew today. So I do want to keep it mild so that I can share it with even kids. And the 2-year-old loved it. Like, she just couldn't get enough of it. So I'm excited that this is a recipe. I feel like it's just like that comfort food without a lot of fat. If you don't know much about butternut squash, you have a little bit of seeds. It kind of really reminds me of pumpkin, but I don't really like to refer to that when I'm trying to explain it to people because I feel like it would freak them out and they really wouldn't enjoy or want to try the soup. So I have a skeptic tonight. I'm making this soup at my cousin's house, and she's like, I'm not sure about this, but I'm going to make her a believer. So I'm excited to make this soup for them tonight. I'm about to get these veggies roasting, and I just thought, hey, you know what? I've talked to people today about going live on Facebook. I'm cooking, which is my normal thing I like to go live doing. Let me just go live. Tell you guys Happy New Year. I am alive and well. I'm doing my thing in the kitchen. And I got a few people chiming in, so I want to read what you're saying so I can say hello. Yeah, Ryan, I'll give you this recipe because it is the ish and you are going to want it. Hi, Tracy. I'm glad you're watching. Hey, Stephanie. It's so cool to see you guys. Your birthday's Monday, Ryan. Okay, I'll have you the recipe and I can ship you some soup. Well, I'll make sure you get some. Hey, Sandra. Hey, Sylvia. So I'm so glad you guys are just hanging out with me today in the kitchen, and just the odd, not planned. That's another part of the conversation I had. Like, you don't have to be pretty. You don't have to put your makeup on. You don't have to do your hair. You don't have to have some memorized script. If you want to go live on Facebook, just go live. Talk to people as if you're having a conversation, just like you bumped into somebody at the grocery store. So, hey, I'm keeping it real, being authentic, and going to finish up this soup so we can enjoy it tonight. Hope you guys have a happy Thursday, and I'll let you know how the soup goes when it's done. Peace!